Daf Yomi, tractate Zevachim, page 101b. We are building the explanation of the story of what happened in Leviticus chapter 10 when Aaron didn't eat the sin offering, rather burnt it. And was giving an explanation why he didn't, because he was in mourning. Okay? Because his two sons had died that day. Okay, top of the page. The last line of the previous line was Miyad B'Yishma Moshe. Immediately Moses conceded to Aaron, as the verse states that Moses heard. Top of 101b. Vayitav be'inav, and it was good in his eyes. Leviticus 10:20. Moses was not embarrassed and did not attempt to justify himself by saying, I did not hear this halacha, meaning this law, until now. Rather, he said, I heard it and I forgot it. Okay? The Gemara asks, according to this opinion, why was the sin offering burned? They should have delayed its consumption and consumed it that night. The Gemara answers, ritual impurity came upon this sin offering due to circumstances beyond the priest's control, and they were forced to burn it. Okay? The Gemara asks, okay. The Gemara asks, granted, according to the rabbis, meaning Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, this is as is written, and if I had consumed the sin offering today, would it have been good in the eyes of the Lord? The verse indicates that Aaron could have eaten it at night. But according to Rabbi Nehemiah, who holds that Aaron distinguished between the offerings of that particular time and the offerings of all later generations, what did Aaron mean by the word today? The Gemara answers, he meant, and if I had eaten the sin offering of the new moon, which is today's obligation, would it have been good in the eyes of the Lord? The Gemara asks, granted, according to Rabbi Nehemiah, this is that it is written, behold, today have they sacrificed their sin offering and their burnt offering before the Lord. Meaning, they offered it as the obligation of the day. But according to the rabbis, meaning Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, what did Aaron mean by the phrase, behold, today? The Gemara answers, this is what Aaron is saying. Did they and my sons sacrifice the offering today, which would have been prohibited to them in acute mourning? No! I sacrificed the offering, and as a high priest, I may perform the service in acute mourning. Amar Mar, the Gemara continues to analyze the Braita. The master says, if the sin offering was burned due to acute mourning, then the priests should have burned all three of the sin offerings offered that day. The Gemara asks, what is meant by all three of the sin offerings? The Tanya, yes, Seir Chatas Darash Moshe. Seir is Seir Nachshon. Chatas is Chatas Shmini. Darash Seir Shalosh Chodesh. The Gemara responds, as it is taught in Braita, the verse states that Moses diligently inquired for the goat of the sin offering, and behold, it was burned. Leviticus 10:16. But when the verse states the goat, this is referring to the goat of Nachshon, son of Aminadav, the prince of the tribe of Judah, who brought the offering on the first day of the tabernacle's inauguration. See Numbers 7:12. When the verse states the sin offering, this is referring to the sin offering that the people brought on the 8th day of the inauguration. See Leviticus 9:13. The term inquired is referring to the goat sacrificed at every new moon. See Numbers 28:15. The tabernacle was erected on the new moon of Nisan. See Exodus 40, verse 17. These are the 3 goats that were sacrificed that day. Yachol Shloshin Nisrafu, Tamaloma, Nesar, Nisraf, Loshosh Nisrafu. Darash, Shtei Rishot Lama, Amarhu, Bipnei Ma, Chatat, Zo Nisrafa, Ve'elu Menachos, Ve'en Yodea Ezehu, Keshu Omer, Yotanasal Lachem, Noseis Zavoino Idu. One might have thought that all 3 of them were burned. Therefore, the verse states, and Moses diligently inquired for the goat of the sin offering, and behold, it was burned, to teach that each of the offerings was burned, but not all 3 of them were burned. The verse states, and Moses diligently inquired, Darash, why were there 2 inquiries? Moses said to them, for what reason is this sin offering burned? Secondly, for what reason are those left unburned? The Braita comments, still, I do not know which of them was burned. When it states with regard to the burnt goat, and he has given it to you to bear the iniquity of the congregation, of Leviticus 10:17, you must say, this is the goat of the new moon, which atones for impurity in the temple. Shabir Kamrile, Rabbi Nechemia Tameh, Demonakachisha, Lo Basala Behu Aninus. The Gemara comments, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon say, well, to Rabbi Nechemia, if the sin offering was burnt due to acute mourning, then all 3 goats should have been burned. How would Rabbi Nechemia respond? The Gemara explains, Rabbi Nechemia conforms to his line of reasoning, and he says, acute mourning does not disqualify offerings of a particular time. Therefore, they burned only the new moon sin offering, which applies to future generations as well. Amar Mahar, Amar Mahar, Amar Mahar, die, 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 die. Okay. Amar Mahar. Master says in the Braita, if the sin offering was burned due to the morning, why was it burned at all? You should have eaten it in the evening. The Gemara comments, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon say, well, to Rabbi Nechemia imposing this difficulty, how would he respond? The Gemara explains, he holds that acute mourning in the evening is by Torah law, and therefore the priests were not permitted to eat it even then. Davar acher, velo Pinchas mahen shaber kamali, saver la karabe Lazar, de amar Rabbi Lazar amar Rabbi Chanina, lo nitkahen Pinchas ad shargozim lizivri, dichtiv, v'ayta lo lezaro acharav brit kunat olam. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon also stated, alternatively, wasn't Pinchas the son of Elazar the priest with them? He was not an acute mourner. The Gemara comments, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon say, well, to Rabbi Nechemia, the Gemara explains, he holds in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Elazar. As Rabbi Elazar says, that Rabbi Chanina says, Pinchas did not become a priest until he killed Zimri, who had engaged in intercourse with a Midianite woman. See Numbers 25, 6-8, as it is written, only after that incident concerning Pinchas. And it shall be unto him and to his seed after him the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. Numbers 25:13. Before that incident, at the time of the inauguration of the temple, the only priests were Aaron and his sons. Rashi says, Pinchas did not become priest until he made peace among the tribes at the time of the conquest of Eretz Yisrael, when the tribes east of the Jordan River built their own altar and nearly provoked a civil war. Before this, Pinchas was always referred to as the son of Elazar the priest, but during this incident, I just read this today, very interesting. During this incident, he is himself referred to as a priest, that time, as it is stated in Pinchas the priest, and the prince of the congregation, and the heads of the thousands of Israel, that were with him, heard the words that the children of Reuben and the children of Gad and the children of Manasseh spoke, and it pleased them well. Joshua 22:30. B'idach nami yaksiv hoydelo rezarovki ksivhu bibrachahu dichsiv. Gemara asks, and for the other sage, Ravashi, as well as in it written, and shall be unto him and to his seed after him the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. Apparently, Pinchas became a priest after he killed Zimri. The Gemara responds, when that verse is written, it is written with regard to the blessing that is written, that his descendants would always be priests. It did not indicate that Pinchas became a priest immediately. The Gemara asks, and as for the other sages as well, who hold that Pinchas became a priest immediately after he killed Zimri, isn't it written, and Pinchas the high priest heard? Apparently he became a priest only after the conquest of Eretz Israel. The Gemara answers that verse serves to entitle his descendants after him, that they would continue as high priests through his merit. Amar Rab Moshe Rabbeinu Kohen Gadol v'cholek b'kodesh Shemayim haya shenemar me'al ha'meluim Moshe haya lemala. Rav says Moses, our teacher, was a high priest and would receive a share of offerings consecrated to heaven, as it is stated, and Moses took the breast and he made it for a wave offering before the Lord. It was Moses' portion of the ram of inauguration, as the Lord commanded Moses, Leviticus 8:29. Meisvei. V'halo Pinchas haya imahen b'misalema. V'halo Moshe Rabbeinu haya imahen dilma shani Moshe d'tanug b'shchina. T'marmar Moshe b'hashkama ala u'hashkama yarad. The Gemara raises an objection. The Braita of Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon claim the acute mourning was not the reason the sin offering was burned, by asking, wasn't Pinchas with them? And if it is so, that Moses could partake of sacrificial meat, let them say, wasn't Moses our teacher with them? The Gemara responds, perhaps Moses is different, since as a prophet he was preoccupied with the divine presence and was not available. As the Master says, Moses ascended Mount Sinai early in the morning, and he descended early in the morning. Okay? Nice. Meisvei lechem melav b'kodesh kadosh b'kodesh yachal im ne'emar b'kodesh kadosh im lo ne'emar b'kodesh kalim im ne'emar b'kodesh kalim lo ne'emar b'kodesh kadosh lo ne'emar b'kodesh kadosh. The Gemara raises an objection to Rav's statement from another part. The verse states with regard to a blemished priest, he may eat of the bread of his God, both of the most sacred and of the sacred. Leviticus 21:22. If offerings of the most sacred order are stated, that a blemished priest may eat them, then why are offerings of lesser sanctity also stated? And if offerings of lesser sanctity are stated, why are offerings of the most sacred order stated? ואילו לא נאמרו בקודש הקדושים, הייתי אומר, בקודש קדושים יהא אוכל שהן קהלים, בקודש הקדושים לא יהא אוכל, לכך נאמרו בקודש הקדושים, לכך נאמרו בקודש קדושים. The bright answers, had offerings of lesser sanctity not been stated, I would have said, it is only offerings of the most sacred order that a blemished priest may eat, as they were permitted both to a non-priest and to the priests. But a blemished priest may not eat offerings of lesser sanctity, which were not permitted to non-priests, and had offerings of the most sacred order had not been started. I would have stated, had offerings of the most sacred order not been stated, I would have said, a blemished priest may eat offerings of lesser sanctity, as they are of lesser sanctity, but he may not eat of offerings the most sacred order, as they are of a higher sanctity. Therefore offerings of the most sacred order are stated, and therefore offerings of the less sanctity are stated as well. Katani miha sherehu tvazal velahen velav lav Moshe amar sheshes lo bivamazar Yesh mincha b'behema. The Gemara explains the objection in the event. The Bride teaches, as they were permitted both to a non-priest and to the priests, what non-priest is permitted to eat offerings of the most sacred order. Is this not referring to Moses? This indicates that Moses was not considered a high priest, contrary to Rav's statement. Rav Sheshet said, no, this is referring to a non-priest sacrificing on a private altar. Once the Jewish people entered Eretz Yisrael, it was permitted for a time for them to build private altars on which even non-priests could serve. And although only offerings of lesser sanctity were offered on private altars, this braita is in accordance with the statement of the sage who says there is a meal offering that may be offered on a private altar. Meal offerings are of the most sacred order. It may say, Miriam hizgira im tomer Moshe hizgira Moshe zarhu. Gemara raises an objection to Rav's statement when Miriam became a leper. See Numbers 12:10, who diagnosed and quarantined her. If you say that Moses quarantined her, this is difficult, as Moses was a non-priest.